The top stories tonight in Y News. The Interagency Task Force set new arrival protocols allowing entry of fully vaccinated foreign travelers from visa-free countries and the suspension of facility-based quarantine beginning February 1.
COVID-19 vaccines Sputnik Light and Sinopharm are now allowed to be used as booster shots.
An anti-cybercrime agency told lawmakers it found sufficient reason to conclude that the system of the software provider Smartmatic was compromised.
And Comelec Commissioner Ferolino accused fellow Commissioner Guanzon of trying to influence her in the disqualification cases against presidential candidate Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Friday, January 28, 2022. I am Herlene Delgado.
Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the Philippines and in other parts of the world. I'm Angelo Castro III.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media accounts and our website, untvweb.com. I am William Theo.
First in the news. The Interagency Task Force for the Management of Infectious Diseases, or IATF, has set new arrival protocols for international passengers. These include allowing fully vaccinated foreign tourists to enter the country without undergoing facility-based quarantine. Rosalie Conz explains why.
The color-based COVID-19 risk classification of countries with regards to COVID-19 has been temporarily suspended by the Pandemic Task Force. Effective February 1, 2022, a new set of arrival protocols for all inbound passengers, both Filipino and foreign travelers, will be imposed regardless of their country of origin. Fully vaccinated, unvaccinated international arriving passengers, partially vaccinated, or individuals whose vaccination status cannot be independently validated shall be required to present a negative RT-PCR test taken within 48 hours prior to departure from the country of origin. Fully vaxxed travelers will no longer be required to observe mandatory facility-based quarantine but shall self-monitor for any sign or symptom for 7 days, with the first day being the date of arrival. They are required to report to the local government unit of destination upon the manifestation of symptoms, if any. They shall also present recognized proofs of vaccination against COVID-19, such as World Health Organization International Certificates of Vaccination and Prophylaxis, VaxCert-PH, or National or State Digital Certificate of the foreign government, which has accepted VaxCert-PH under a reciprocal arrangement unless otherwise permitted by the IATF. For the unvaccinated, they are required to undergo facility-based quarantine until the release of their negative RT-PCR test taken on the 5th day. Then they shall undergo home quarantine until their 14th day. The LGU of Destination and Barangay Health Emergency Response Teams are to monitor those arriving passengers undergoing home quarantine. Children below 12 years of age who cannot be vaccinated shall follow the quarantine protocols of the parents or the accompanying adult or guardian traveling with them. IATF says, based on the monitoring of the Philippine Genome Center, community transmission of the Omicron COVID-19 variant is not from abroad, and COVID-19 cases from returning overseas Filipinos are lower than the transmissions recorded in the community.
Nakita rin po base sa pag-aaral ng ating Epidemiology Bureau ng DOH, mababa po ang kaso ng ating mga returning overseas Filipino, mababa ang incidence na nagpo-positibo sila kumpara sa komunidad. Ang sinasabi ng ating mga eksperto, it doesn't make sense anymore because yun pong transmission dito sa ating bansa ay napakataas na. Baka mas mataas pa dun sa mga pinagbabawalan natin ng mga travelers coming from other countries.
Malacanang says the easing of arrival protocols is just temporary.
Pag-suspend natin ng country classifications, red, yellow, and green, is temporarily suspended unless we need to bring it back due to an emerging variant of concern. That has to be made very clear. Now, this is something that we will continue to monitor, but as of today and as of the moment, we are seeing that it's widely Omicron, and we are only accepting fully vaccinated, and we hope that we could ramp up even more of our kababayan, vaccination for more of our kababayans.
Meanwhile, starting February 10, fully vaccinated travelers from non-visa required countries can enter the country. They should be holders of passports valid for at least 6 months at the time of arrival, with return or outbound ticket to their country of origin or next country of destination. They must also present recognized proofs of vaccination. Children below 18 years of age are exempted from the requirement of full vaccination and providing of proof of vaccination status prior to boarding. According to the amended list of non-visa required countries by the Department of Foreign Affairs, there are more than 150 countries considered visa-free for a period of stay not exceeding 30 days, including United States of America, South Korea, Japan, Australia, Canada, Malaysia, and Singapore. DOH assures the public there is nothing to worry about the easing of entry protocols for international passengers.
Pero hindi po natin kailangan mangamba. Dahil pag tinignan natin yung four-door policy natin, ang pinakauna po dun sa four-door policy is border control. Yung border control po, natapos na tayo dun kasi ginagawa natin yun to prevent the entry of Omicron variant. But now that there is already community transmission, we should move towards doors 2, 3, and 4, kung saan papalakasin po natin ang ating efforts at intervention sa komunidad na po.
On the other hand, fully vaccinated nationals shall not be included in the arrival quota set by the Department of Transportation and its one-stop shop. Rosa Licos, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The healthcare utilization rate in the National Capital Region is now down to low-risk level. Meanwhile, 6 more provinces in the country have been placed under COVID-19 Alert Level 3. JP Nunez will give us the details live. JP, go ahead.
Jego, one hospital command center reported that there was a decrease on calls they received for hospital referral to COVID-19 patients in the National Capital Region. One hospital command center, or OHCC data, shows healthcare utilization rate in the region decreased after its peak in the past 2 weeks due to Omicron surge.
Yung sa mga hospital utilization rate po natin, ang NCR po no nasa 42% yan as of yesterday. So nasa low risk po siya, nasa low risk na po yung hospital utilization rate niya.
The Interagency Task Force is still considering the factors to de-escalate the National Capital Region to Alert Level 2. There are 3 factors they will consider for the de-escalation. Among them is the low-risk classification of the region, the average daily attack rate, and the 2-week growth rate, which is now considered as low-risk.
Tomorrow, we will find out. Alamin po natin, meron po tayong 3 batayan kung magde-de-escalate tayo from Alert Level 3 to Alert Level 2. Yung tinatawag natin 2-week growth rate sa ngayon ay negative na. So ibig sabihin talagang bumagal na yung pagkalat ng virus. But tomorrow, we will have a more definitive announcement.
Meanwhile, there are regions now in Visayas and Mindanao which escalated to higher alert level restriction. Effective today, Palawan, Camiguin, Davao Occidental, Dinagat Islands, Tawi-Tawi, and Sulu are placed under Alert Level 3 restrictions. Its effectivity will be until February 15.
Moderate risk na po ang NCR kahapon pa. Baka nahuhuli lang tayo dun sa ating mga ginagawang estimasyon. Bumaba na po ng husto ang ating mga kaso at nakarating na tayo sa moderate risk case classification. Yun po sa ibang lugar, katulad po ng aking naipahayag kanina, Atin pong nakikita na, no, even in the NCR plus areas, katulad po ng Cavite at saka ang Laguna, napunta na rin po sila sa moderate risk. Meron na lang po tayong mga binabantayan ngayon, especially ang Visayas and Mindanao, na ngayon natin nakikita yung pagtaas ng kaso. Specific, talagang mataas ang kaso ngayon, Region 7, Region 6, Region 11.
Diego, as of today, the national government still has no hint for the new alert level restriction in Metro Manila starting next week. That is our latest live. Back to you, Diego.
Thank you, JP Nunez, reporting live from Quezon City.
Meanwhile, the Department of Health recorded 18,638 new cases of novel coronavirus disease or COVID-19, pushing the nationwide case count to 3,511,491. Of this figure, 231,658 remain active or patients who are still sick. The Department of Health, or DOH, said 219,811 cases have mild symptoms, 7,055 have no symptoms or asymptomatic, 2,971 are in moderate condition, 1,509 have severe symptoms, and 312 are in critical condition. Majority of the new cases were found in Calabarzon, Metro Manila, and Western Visayas. The death toll, however, climbed to 53,801, 1.53% of all infections after 68 more people lost their lives. Meanwhile, 13,106 others got well, raising the recovery count to 3,226,032, or 91.9% of the COVID-19 tally. 4 laboratories did not submit data and were excluded from the total. Meanwhile, the overall global COVID-19 caseload has topped to 366,392,046, while the deaths have surged to 5,637,909, according to the Johns Hopkins University. The United States is the worst hit country with the world's highest number of cases and deaths at 73,428,433 and 878,467 respectively, followed by India and Brazil.
Adults who were fully vaccinated with Sinopharm COVID-19 vaccines as primary series may now receive their booster shots. Meanwhile, the Russia-made COVID-19 vaccine Sputnik Light was also granted an emergency use authorization to be used as the booster dose. Aiko Miguel reports why.
Sinopharm vaccinated individuals may now receive their booster dose. According to health spokesperson Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergere, those who had Sinopharm as their primary series can choose homologous booster shots, or they can have AstraZeneca, Moderna, and Pfizer as heterologous booster 3 months after their primary series. President Duterte has received Sinopharm as booster shot. The DOH, however, clarified that Sinopharm cannot be given as booster shot for pregnant and lactating women. Further studies are needed to prove its safety for pregnant women.
Hindi po pwedeng i-booster sa mga buntis at nagpapasusong ina ang Sinopharm at Gamaleya Sputnik. Ang lahat ng bakunang ginagamit sa bansa ay sumailalim sa masusing pag-aaral. Lahat po ito ay nabigyan ng Emergency Use Authority at aprobado ng FDA.
The DOH also said that Sputnik Light can now be used as booster dose for those fully vaccinated with AstraZeneca, Pfizer, Moderna, and Sinovac COVID-19 vaccines. However, it cannot be given as booster for those who had Sinopharm and Janssen COVID-19 vaccines. Sputnik Light can also be used as homologous booster for Sputnik V and single-dose Sputnik Light.
Gayun din, maari nang iturok ang Sputnik Light bilang booster shot matapos ang primary series doses. Allowed po ang walk-in sa ating mga regular vaccination sites para sa primary series at booster doses.
Meanwhile, the DOH said that fully vaccinated individuals can still donate blood. The DOH warns the public to get news from verified media organizations and official account of government websites.
Kahit sinong bakunado ng COVID-19 ay maaaring mag-donate ng dugo kahit na sila po ay walang simptomas. Kung may simptomas naman, maaari pa rin mag-donate ng dugo matapos ang 7 hanggang 14 na araw pagkatapos gumaling o mawala na ang simptomas. Misinformation can mean life or death. Accurate, timely information will save lives.
Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Department of Health National Capital Region plans to shorten the COVID-19 vaccination training program of pharmacists to 1 week. Janice Henta will tell us why.
To convince more drugstores to participate in the government's Res Bakuna sa Botika program or the COVID-19 vaccination in selected drugstores, the DOH plans to modify the process by cutting short the training of pharmacists who will volunteer for the COVID-19 vaccination program. According to DOH NCR Regional Director Dr. Gloria Balboa, from the current 1-month training, they will shorten it in just 1 week.
Ayun nga, kasi actually isang buwan yan yung training na yan ng Philippine Pharmacy Association, no? So, but that includes kasi iba-ibang bakuna, kaya ganun na katagal. So, since ang concern natin dito, COVID, kaya pwedeng paigsiin, ayun nga, ginawang 1 week.
Because of this nga, na kailangan, kinukan po natin, minomodify, shorten kasi mahabang training yun and this time with the Department of Health, so isu-shorten po yun at may schedule na po. Kaya once we have more pharmacists, then mas madami po mai-involve.
Pharmacists supported the said plan to further accelerate the government's vaccination program.
Kung sa COVID vaccine alone lang, that would be okay na papaikliin lang po. Okay lang naman po kung ang target lang naman natin is COVID vaccination kasi it's just one drug, one vaccine alone na ating pag-aaralan. That would be fine.
Earlier, 2 branches of Mercury Drug Store in Retiro Mayon in Quezon City and 1 branch in Bonifacio Global City in Taguig has been added as vaccination sites. According to Dr. Balboa, 7 more pharmacists in Metro Manila have submitted applications and expressed readiness to become vaccination sites.
Actually, marami pang application kailangan i-assess. And then, hindi lang ngayon sa expansion, hindi lang dito sa NCR. Meron din sa Region 4A at saka Region 3.
Janice Hente, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
A poll watchdog is demanding full transparency after an official of the government Cybercrime Center disclosed that the system of software contractor Smartmatic is allegedly compromised. Harleen Delgado will tell us why.
The Department of Information and Communications Technology, or DICT, confirms that there was no hacking on the servers of the Commission on Elections, or Comelec. The agency says they verified the claim that 60 gigabytes of data were downloaded from the Comelec's website, but no such activity was found upon checking the logs. However, its attached agency, Cybercrime Investigation and Coordination Center, believes it is not the servers of Comelec that were compromised, but the system of Comelec software provider Smartmatic. Its executive director, Cesar Mancao, told the Joint Congressional Oversight Committee on the Automated Election System that they found sufficient artifacts that there was a breach of the system as what they have gathered from their sources.
On the contractor of the Comelec, is Smartmatic. We believe that their system is compromised and that we are not also accusing them for doing it themselves at this moment. We have identified the group that claimed, and we have sufficient artifacts at this time that we can reveal in this session.
Mancao requested the committee chairperson, Senator Amy Marcos, and Cavite 4th District Representative Elpidio Barzaga to call for an executive session to discuss the matter. Poll Watchdog Contra Daya convener Professor Danilo Arao calls it alarming, saying that Mancao should provide more information on what he means by compromised Smartmatic system. The group is demanding full transparency on the matter. For its part, the Comelec assures that no sensitive information was given to Smartmatic and that the data that were claimed to be hacked will be stored in a secured memory configuration room.
The only way you can hack it is not through cyber attack, but you have to enter into that room and then input the 2 passwords by our supervisors, and you have to pass all those securities before you can enter that room.
Smartmatic does not have access to this room?
Yes, Madam Chair, we make sure that no one can access except those only authorized personnel coming from the Comelec.
Comelec Commissioner Marlon Casquejo adds the participation of Smartmatic is more on providing the software itself.
We are pretty much sure that the election is still intact because we do not provide them any sensitive data information. And even the software that we conducted, the trusted build with this hash code being displayed or in the website and open to the public, we take control of that.
Jorlin Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Several political aspirants urge Comelec Commissioner Rowena Guanzon to identify those behind the delay in the release of the decision on the disqualification cases against his fellow candidate Ferdinand Marcos Jr. Meanwhile, other candidates conducted a dialogue with different sectors. Nel Maribohok report.
Buhay Party List Representative and Vice Presidential Aspirant Lito Atienza has lauded the recent expose of Commission on Elections Commissioner Rowena Guanzon, particularly her vote to disqualify Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos in the upcoming presidential elections.
Alam niyo, si Commissioner Guanzon, hindi ko naman kasundugaan yan, pero on this particular issue, bumibili mo sa kanya na
his running mate Senator Manny Pacquiao is now in Sarangani Province. On the other hand, presidential aspirant Leo de Guzman urged Commissioner Guanzon to identify those behind the delay in the release of the decision. De Lakas ng Masa standard bearer also asked Commissioner Aimee Ferolino to immediately decide on the consolidated petitions. Vice presidential aspirant and Senate President Vicente Sotto III shared the same sentiment. According to Soto, he will ask the Committee on Ethics to look into the matter. Meanwhile, Senator Panfilo Lacson disputed Vice President Leni Robredo anew on her lack of action remark. Lacson said he risked his life in countless time and he valued his work. In an FB live broadcast, he presented his newly issued national ID after 1 year of waiting. But unfortunately, there was an error on his birth date.
naiba yung birthday ko.
The unit team of Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos and Mayor Sara Duterte meanwhile conducted a dialogue with transport and business sectors. Inday Sara vows to push for the modernization of transportation sector.
Ang kailangan po natin sa Pilipinas ay modernisasyon po ng ating transportation sector. At kailangan po na mabilis ang ating paggalaw from port to port, whether it's by land, sea, or air.
Marcos Jr. is not present in the said virtual caravan. Instead, he was represented by her sister, Senator Aimee Marcos. Meanwhile, Vice President Leni Robredo conducted a dialogue with BPO employees. She wants to push for secure and safe transportation for call center workers.
So yung proposal talaga natin, Jero, dapat yung pamahalaan nagpo-provide siya ng transportation na safe, na secure, gumagawa ng mga rota na sinusut doon sa mga oras na paglabas sa trabaho. And yung mga rotang ito, regulated siya.
Her running mate, Senator Francis Pangilinan, called the government to expand the capacity of the National Center for Mental Health in order to cater to the needs of Filipinos. Mayor Isko Moreno Dumagoso in his FB post wants to continue the fight against illegal drugs, but he said he will implement the rule of law. His running mate Doc Willie Ong discussed how long the symptoms of COVID-19 may be experienced of an individual.
I-check nyo talaga, it's a big problem worldwide. Milyon-milyong tao, magaling na last year pa nagka-COVID. Pero hanggang ngayon, mahina, hapo, depressed, ubo, sakit ng ulo.
Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue, we serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Philippine National Police urged political candidates and their supporters for the upcoming May 2022 elections to abide by the campaign rules set by the Commission on Elections amid the pandemic. Leia Ilagan reports.
The Philippine National Police will deploy its personnel in areas where election campaign rallies, meeting the Avance motorcades and other campaign activities will be held. PNP Chief Police General Junardo Carlos said the police on the ground will strictly monitor the activities that will begin on February 8 for national candidates and March 25 for local candidates. Carlos hopes that the candidates will set an example to the public on obeying campaign guidelines. Based on the guidelines issued by Comelec, in-person campaigning is not allowed in areas under alert levels 4 and 5, while candidates or campaign leaders must only be accompanied by a maximum of 5 campaign support staff in areas under alert level 2 and 3. For alert level 1, there is no limit to the number of companions the candidates can have. The prohibited acts under in-person activities include entering private dwelling for house-to-house campaigning, even with the owner's permission, crowding, handshaking, or other forms of physical contact, taking selfies or photographs that require proximity among people, and distributing food and drinks. The same goes for bigger campaign events. The PNP also asked the public to help in reporting violations of the campaign provisions. Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Meanwhile, the National Bureau of Investigation, or NBI, said it has recommended to the Department of Justice, or DOJ, the transfer of self-confessed drug lord Roland Kerwin Espinosa to a more secured facility in the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology, or BJMP, in Taguig City. In a statement, NBI officer in charge Eric Distor said their request aims to comply with the security and safety protocols for Espinosa under the Witness Protection Program while under government custody and an accused appearing at cases pending in different courts. The request comes a few weeks after the NBI said it thwarted the plan of 3 detainees led by Espinosa to bolt from its facility through a hole of the exhaust fan on the ceiling. To date, there are 79 detainees in the NBI detention center facing various criminal cases.
Commission on Elections First Division member Commissioner Aimee Ferolino has broken her silence over the accusations made by Commissioner Rowena Guanzon against her. Dante Amento will give us the details live. Dante, go ahead.
Good evening, Diego. In a letter to Comelec Chairman Sheriff Abbas, Commissioner Aimee Ferolino has responded to the concerns raised by Commissioner Rowena Guanzon. This is over the allegedly delay of the resolution of the consolidated disqualification cases against presidential bet Ferdinand Marcos Jr. Ferolino says her office has just received the formal offer of evidence by the respondent on January 14, as well as the manifestation and memorandum to set the preliminary conference. Ferolino added her lawyer assigned to review the records and most of her staff tested positive for COVID-19. Commissioner Guanzon allegedly made an announcement only on Twitter that the case is to be promulgated by January 17. Commissioner Ferolino stresses it is impossible to draft a comprehensive and well-reviewed resolution of 3 cases in 3 days, taking into consideration the health risk of her lawyer and staff. Ferolino also belied that there was an internal agreement among the First Division commissioners that the promulgation on the Marcoses cases would be on January 17. According to Ferolino, it was Guanzon who set the date and imposed it to her and Commissioner Marlon Casquejo. Ferolino also said Guanzon tried to convince her to disqualify Marcos. She called Guanzon's move quite appalling to draft a separate opinion when the ponente has not yet submitted the resolution and all the records are in her possession. Ferolino further added what happened is not undue delay but undue rush. She pointed out why rush to craft an impartial resolution of a complex and highly rated case when these will be decided based on merits and not for publicity to please somebody. She also asked the poll body to review the appearances of Guanzon before some media outlets and social media sites under the disclosure of Guanzon that she, being the ponente or assigned commissioner to pen the main resolution, will expose her to possible pressure and pose threat to her safety and security. Diego, lastly, Ferolino assures that her office is doing its best so that the Commission will not be placed in bad light, and she understands the necessity to release the resolution of the case sooner. And that's our latest live from Quezon City. Back to you, Diego.
Thank you, Dante Amento, for that live report.
The Department of Trade and Industry has released a new suggested retail price or SRP list for basic goods and prime commodities. Supermarket owners, however, will impose the new SRP later than the effective date. Asher Kadapan Jr. will tell us why.
Old stocks of concerned basic goods in supermarkets and other large retailers should be exhausted prior to updating its price tag. Philippine Amalgamated Supermarket Association explains this. A suggested retail price of some basic goods were approved by the Department of Trade and Industry effective yesterday. But Stephen Kua, president of the said group of supermarket owners, says it may take days before new SRPs are adopted by large retailers depending on their inventory.
Kung marami kang inventaryo, the store can opt to sell at the old price for a long period of time kasi marami siyang stock, di ba? Pero kung gusto niya itaas kaagad, dahil ang point niya, tumataas ang cost of operation natin eh. Itaas na natin ngayon kahit na may konting old stock pa, that's their option. Of course, DTI will want to say that you have to finish your inventory given the old cost of acquisition bago yung bago.
The DTI approved an increase in the SRP of 73 out of 216 shelf-keeping units, which include canned sardines, processed milk, bread, instant noodles, salt, detergent soap, bottled water, candles, processed canned meat, processed canned beef, toilet soap, and battery. 20 items increased by 1 to 5% from the old price, while 43 items increased by 6 to 10%, and 10 items have over 10% increase. Meanwhile, other basic goods retained the 2021 price level. DTI Undersecretary Ruth Costello explains that they allowed increase of some of the items on their list so not to compromise the operations of their manufacturers. Aside from the increasing cost of the raw materials, the DTI says the concerned products have not increased their prices to up to 5 years.
Kasi hindi naman lahat ng requests nila na papagbigyan natin, we temper the increases para hindi masyadong maburden ang mga bumibili to a minimum level na hindi naman nalulugi yung mga negosyo. So the consumers can rest assured that these prices are studied thoroughly by DTI at ito talaga yung pinaka-reasonableng presyo na mabibili nila na fair din naman para sa mga gumagawa as producers.
The DTI gives large retailers time for the price adjustment on their end, but the agency will monitor the SRPs on the following days to ensure their compliance. Asher Kadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas or BSP is eyeing the implementation of tighter laws against coin hoarding and counterfeiting of Philippine currency. The BSP said it is preparing legislative proposals that aim to raise the penalty of imprisonment for crimes involving currency counterfeiting to deter the commission of this crime. Under current laws, the counterfeiting of Philippine money carries a jail sentence of at least 12 years and a day and a maximum fine of 2 million pesos. To complement this, the BSP said it will also seek the enactment of a law that will define the crime of hoarding of coins and provide penalties for the commission of the said offense.
And for the news abroad, a new feature is making its way on Facebook Messenger for end-to-end encrypted messages, increasing the security and privacy of the messaging platform. Annie Mancilia will tell us the details live. Yes, Annie?
Good evening, Kath. The CEO of Meta, Mark Zuckerberg, announced the new feature for end-to-end encrypted chats today, stating the new update will allow users to see if someone screenshots one of their disappearing messages. To make the encrypted chats more entertaining, our GIFs, stickers, and reaction are also being added, Zuckerberg mentioned. This was another step to the platform following the introduction of disappearing messages, which was rolled out in November 2020. The E2EE end-to-end encryption has been implemented by Facebook to its messaging platforms. The gold standard encryption in comparison to server-side encryption which locks the privacy and security. Service providers use the service-side encryption to access the data and messages that are being delivered by users. With this information, they are able to decrypt the data. The E2EE encryption, however, prevents that from occurring, with added security. Only the user and the person receiving the messages are the only two who can read the messages. Kat?
Thank you, Annie Mancilia, reporting live from Singapore. Taiwan climbed 3 notches higher in a ranking of least corrupt countries in the world. Merido Maleriado gives us the details live.
Good evening,
Yes,
Kath.
Merido.
Yes. Hello, Kath. Taiwan ranks 25th out of 180 countries, according to Transparency International's 2021 Corruption Perception Index, or CPI, having 68 points out of 100. The rankings, which was released last Tuesday, January 25, listed Taiwan in 6th place among the 28 countries in the Asia-Pacific region after New Zealand, Singapore, Hong Kong, Australia, and Japan. In the annual rankings worldwide, Denmark, Finland, and New Zealand shared the #1 spot as the 3 least corrupt countries in the world, while Somalia, Syria, and South Sudan is at the bottom of the CPI. To improve the fight against corruption, Transparency International has advised Asian countries to involve and inform citizens and speak freely on cases of corruption. According to Transparency International, 86% of countries making little to no progress in the last 10 years. Kath?
Thank you, Merijo Maleriado, for that report live from Taiwan. A recent study suggests that children who suffered concussions or brain injury recover better by doing physical activity 72 hours after a concussion. Jane Robles tells us why live. Yes, Jane?
Kath, Ottawa's Pediatric Hospital found in their study that early physical activity stimulates healing of brain in recovery. A scientist at the CHEO Research Institute found in the research that it's safe for children between 10 to 18 years old to resume non-contact physical activity such as light exercise or walking. The study involves 450 participants divided into 2 groups. One group rested until symptoms resolved, and the other followed some level of physical activity after 72 hours of rest. After 2 weeks, symptoms were comparable between the 2 groups. Those who undergo physical activity demonstrated an easing of symptoms and a reduced rate of delayed recovery. But the study author believed that conducting a randomized clinical trial is still essential to further prove the findings. While the topic remains under research, Parachute-led project funded by the Public Health Agency of Canada has already a similar practice. Their guidelines recommend 10 to 15 minutes of daily walking or other lighter exercise after 24 to 48 hours of rest unless there are red flags. Kath?
Thank you, Jane Robles, reporting live from Vietnam. Based on a new study, researchers found that taking vitamin D and fish oil supplements help prevent autoimmune diseases. Nerissa Danda will tell us why live. Nerissa?
Good evening, Kath. In a new research published on Wednesday, taking vitamin D and fish oil supplements significantly lowers the rate of autoimmune diseases or ADs such as rheumatoid arthritis and thyroid disease on older people. This is due to the findings that taking both supplements have decreased AD occurrence by 30%. Moreover, evidence was also found that there is an increased effect after longer duration of taking them. According to Karen Conservator, senior author from the Brigham's Division of Rheumatology, Inflammation, and Immunity, these positive results are the first evidence that these supplements help reduce autoimmune diseases. They look forward to expanding the results in the future. Meanwhile, as the study included older people or older participants, the results may not be generalized to younger people experiencing AD. Kath?
Nerissa, did the researchers provide a guidance on how much dosage of these supplements people need to take?
Cass, the researchers warned that people should take vitamin B and fish oil with caution as they are not water soluble and can build up to toxic levels. It is also advisable to talk to their doctors prior to taking them. Back to you, Cass.
Thank you, Nerissa Dando, for that report live from Japan. And those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. I'm Kat Maraos, live from Bangkok, Thailand. Good evening.
And before we close, we will leave you with a word, giving glory to God. From the book of Proverbs, chapter 6, verse 23, it says, "For the commandment is a lamp, and the law is light, and reproofs of instruction are the way of life." And those are the reasons behind the news, January 28, 2022. I am Herding Delgado.
Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I'm Angelo Castro III.
And because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.